So we don't need to go around the table because this is episode 2. Redzi is here. Hello, Redzi.
How's it going, everybody?
Fake QT, my man's back again. You all right, QT?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I hope this time it's going to be way better. There was some problems last time where for some reason my microphone wasn't active. It was actually my webcam, the microphone in the webcam. So it was truly awful. But hopefully it's better this time.
You sound much better beautiful already, today.
All good.
Yep, beautiful. And then Mincy. So you look like you're surrounded by a worrying amount of gamma. But what's going on, mate? You all right?
Oh, yeah, no.
Waiting for you to burst into the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
is that you, Bruce?
I figured, everyone's, putting neon lights. I figured uranium is the way to go, as radiant as possible. I'm going to prove you that cancer doesn't come from uranium, so that's all I want to say.
So Mincy won't be here next week.
Yeah. So I will be in the hospital with, what is it, second degree or third degree burns?
I don't know. We've really got this off to a really, really nice start. Talking about third degree burns.
All good.
So look, we'll do what we done last week. I'll go last, and we'll just go around the table and let's go over our biggest find of the week. So since we done this last Monday, so yeah, 8 days ago. We'll start with you, QT, because I know you've been doing a lot of testing anyway. So what's that one big thing that you've taken away from the last week of beta?
I think the biggest thing I've discovered was actually the specialization for tailors. That on my level 61, when I had to change specialization, I had to pay 50 gold and then 20 gold to pick another one. Where, on these shady servers, it has been 150 gold. So this has been really huge because this do mean that it will definitely be worth to, for example, do 2 spellcraft. Swap to Shadow Weave Master, do Shadowclaw times 2, swap to Moonclaw Master, and do 2 times Primal Moonclaw. So this do mean that, of course, you have to bring the materials, but you pay around 140 gold every single 4 days, and you can make 2 of each cloth. So this is huge because, yeah, of course, you're probably only going to need one of the cloth thing, but you can trade with guildies or, exchange it into gold. Or trade cloth with each other. So this has been really huge because this do mean that you can get the tailoring sets way faster than I actually expected. Of course, you could do this already, but I expected it to be like 300 gold or even more. But the fact that it's only 140 gold, that's huge.
Yeah, could you start with a different point? Because now I've got to cross a YouTube video off the list, which is quite annoying. No, I'm only kidding. But yeah, no, it's that. I mean, that's massive. I mean, as long as each cloth is worth 70 gold, then you're laughing. You're basically putting an extra 2 cloths into circulation in every reset for free, basically.
Yeah,
and that's insane considering we know that people are going to the extent of having like as many tailoring alts as possible ready to rock and roll. So if every tailoring alt can do that, it's that's broken. That's broken.
But do you think it's going to have an impact on? Well, yeah, obviously on the cost, the general cost of. You would think it's going to drive the cost down to below 70 gold. Would be my gut feeling.
Nah, not in the beginning, but I feel like at some point it might actually get rather cheap. Like I see on other people's streams, on my own stream, people saying, "Hey, I have 5-10 tailor alts prepared." And I feel like maybe the most expensive is actually going to be to get the primals, not the actual cooldown, because after a week or so, the really hardcore people might already have the full sets. So I feel like after that 1 week, casuals will actually be able to get the cloth cooldowns. It might go down like to maybe being a cooldown that is worth maybe 25 or 50 gold instead. But nonetheless, 70 gold to get 2 cloth, that is really cheap. And no matter how many cloth cooldowns there's going to be, 70 gold for an extra cloth, that's going to be worth it. And it will be months before it's going to be like a cloth is going to cost 70 gold, I believe.
Well, I mean, the thing that I see a good thing, from the perspective of a guild, you're looking at now you would use somebody else's cooldown, wouldn't you? So let's say you're Shadow Weave, I'm Spellcloth. Every 4 days you'd have my cooldown, I'd have yours, because you're wanting your set, I'm wanting my set. But then you're using all those mats just to get one, rather than two. Whereas now you can use all those mats plus give the tailor 70 gold to actually do the specialization change. And then you're getting two. So I can. It's good in a way. I personally think that there should be a cooldown. If we're talking about things that should change, there should really be a cooldown on changing specialization, because that is going to be abused. I'll abuse it. What's your thoughts?
It would be stupid not to do it, definitely. And if you don't have 10 tailor orcs prepared, having this option is going to be huge. Like, if you have 2 tailors, it's going to be huge to have this. And of course, you're not going to be, within a few days, having the full Spellfire set or Spell Striker set or whatever set you're going for. Like, you're not going to have this with a few tailor orcs, but still, you're going to be able to catch up rather fast. And we still don't know if, like, Karazhan is going to be locked or gated for maybe a week or something like that. We still don't know this. Or as far as, I don't know, I haven't researched, but I doubt we know it yet. But still, it's going to be huge, and I would prefer myself to have a cooldown on this, because it's going to make the progression even faster. And with the next Rammus gear and everything, like all the alts and gold, the progression is already going to be super fast. So a cooldown would be amazing.
Well, I don't genuinely, I don't know where that cost has come from, because I don't remember it ever being 50 gold to drop and 20 gold to learn. Like, no. I don't even remember reading that anywhere when I've looked at, changes on sort of Wowpedia and stuff like that for tailoring. So I don't know where these values have even come from.
Yeah. But, okay, let's imagine it was 150 gold. It's still huge. Like, 150 gold, that's probably going to be the materials itself on launch. Like a Primal Fire, for example, and a Primal... I can't remember the other one. Primal Mana, I believe it is, yeah. Primal Mana and Primal Fire. Like, that's going to be expensive itself. So even if I had to pay 150 gold or 200 gold for changing specialization, I think a lot of people would still do it. Because these cloth, they're going to be mandatory. Like, this set you can craft as a tailor is going to be best in slot for, like, all the way up to tier 5 content. So probably half a year. And you can craft 5 epic items. Like, you have your specialization set, and then you have the Spell Striker set, for example. So, yeah. Even at 150 gold, I would do it.
Yeah, people will. What's your thoughts on it, Mince? Obviously, you're going in as a mage anyway into TBC, so...
So, like, my big question is, are they going to cap that? Or is there going to be, like, a way where they come in and they kind of do their Blizzard thing, and they take that quest, and they make sure that you can only do one per week? Do you think they're going to do something like that? Like, implement almost like a chokehold on it? It makes it so you can't have all those alts churning out all the different types of cloth through the first phase, maybe? That's the only thing that
do you mean like all 3 cooldowns share a cooldown?
Yeah. Like, let's say you have your first week, you start with your Spell Strike set, right? And then you go on to the next quest, and then the next quest. You can't do that. That quest gets stuck on whatever cooldown you have for that 4 days or whatever. That's your quest. And then the next 4 days, I think that would be nice to implement. But that would also punish the casuals and reward those that have been playing and getting their all armies together. But I think that would be kind of interesting to implement. That's really like my only thoughts. Are what would you do to slow it down to maintain its economic prevalence? Otherwise, it's be like, think about this. We have so many bots in the game, and that's the reason why shit will go down once there's too much of it. So they kind of like choke the economy. If you let tailors go crazy, it's going to kill like how much it costs. So like, if you expected to make money off of that cooldown, you have a week to do so, to maybe the first month max. After that, trains left the station. So like, that's what I have like for it. I'm thinking about it like economically, not just like my set as well, because I am a mage and I'm going to be going into Karazhan trying to push obviously numbers. You saw earlier that I was trying to like just play with the meter. I wasn't even like doing the quest. I was killing shit with you guys, but all I wanted to do was stack my meter. So
Yeah, and
but the second helm.
just to clarify, when he's saying quest, he does mean the respecing of specialization. Yeah, it's not a quest as such, but I knew what he meant. Stop being pedantic, Resto. No, I mean, Redzi, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know tailoring's not something that's going to interest you because I believe you're going in on a hunter.
Yeah. I'll be leatherworking my drums to the ceiling, but I think for me it will be interesting to see how Blizzard, how seriously that the devs take this when they eventually, obviously, watch this incredible podcast, boys, because they historically have never really taken any interest in terms of manipulating or affecting or balancing the in-game economy in terms of really putting their hand in and completely changing something or taking something away. They have allowed flipping to be in the game since the beginning. Flips have been a thing and they're still a thing. And it'd be interesting if they actually see and listen to, like Fake UT just said, the way that can affect the initial price, the overall price at the end, and its stability up and down. Who knows, throughout all the phases. It would be very interesting to see whether or not they're actually going to take stock of the community's concerns again about something that maybe they're not seeing the finer, deeper details that can have knock-on effects for. I mean, how many cloth classes? How many people are going to be playing cloth classes? They're going to need to get that gear. So it could massively affect the more casual players. It could massively affect the more hardcore players. It could reward them. It could screw them. It'd be interesting to see if they're even going to pay attention to it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I suppose the thing there is then it does come back on us a little bit. Odds are, no, they won't see this podcast. But is that, when we do these things in game and we're saying, right, it's 50 gold and 20 gold, I know it's not a bug. You can't really consider it a bug, but is it something we should be using the tool to actually report as a bug and say, look, this is going to get abused. Do you understand that, with it being like this, people are going to be changing specializations every 4 days, every single tailor will be swapping around?
My opinion on that is yes. I can't remember exactly what it was that I reported, but I just reported it in terms of, obviously I'm using the bug report to submit my question or query to them, but I basically said in so many words, are you confident in the accuracy of the values depicted in this tooltip or this spell or whatever? Is it possible to double check this because it has this outcome or this effect? I think we can do that. Yeah, the more queries that we add, the more work there is, but it's their job to go through it, and we're just doing the best we can to give them the bigger picture, because to be frank, they haven't got enough time or manpower to be looking at every single massive game-breaking tiny granular detail. They need to have as much information as they can. That's what we're here for.
Now, I know they can't answer every single bug report, but like all of us are playing on the beta, and do you just feel like when you actually report one of these bugs, it just feels like it's falling on deaf ears? Like you don't know if anything's been addressed. I've reported bugs on day one and then reported them again today, and those things are still in the game, and things that seem quite minor where it should be like, well, they could have fixed that. They've gone through a bug report and said like, a graphical issue on a mob, sort that out or whatever. There's just no feedback, or even if all the bug reports were in a database somewhere or something where we, like as the testers, can physically go and have a look and go, oh look, this has been reported thousands of times. They're probably working on that one first. Just so we feel like it is actually being looked at.
That would be great. That'd be very useful to have that tool as a tester. Because sometimes it does feel like it just drops into the void. And other times though, I think when I submit a bug, I will also check who's in the zone, and I kind of like whisper them and confer with them. And like there was one bug that I come across where there was a quest that was doing in Hellfire Peninsula. You have to get this meat, and then you have to purify the meat, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and the meat goes like radioactive gamma, like Mincy's background, it goes toxic. And the quest bugged out and would only put the quest item into my initial standard backpack, and because it was full, it wouldn't show up. So I did tests like reloading, moving things away, dropping the quest, picking up the quest again, all that kind of stuff. And after conferring with other people after I'd reported it, it turns out they had come across the same thing and they'd submitted it too. So to have to manually check with however many people you might be fortunate enough to be playing with, like sometimes it feels like on the beta there's only five people online. Other times it's quite populated. Time zones are a bit wacky, I get it, but it would be nice to know that like when you like in game, when you hover over a quest or an item related to a quest, you press F6 to bring up the bug window. If it then had a tab saying we are aware of XYZ that has been submitted previously, that would at least feel like those reports that you're doing are definitely getting or going somewhere. Because typing out those reports is hella fun, but it feels like you're doing like a tweet because you've got 225 characters and you got to be fucking precise. Otherwise, you can't get your point across. You're like, oh man, how do I even words?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I sort of get the like generic bugs. You know, if I'm just running along and I open a bug report and type something out, fair enough. You know, they've got to read all those manually. They'd have to reply manually. But when you target an NPC or you report a specific quest or something like that, they must all be grouped together. So if all four of us went and done a quest and we reported a bug based on an NPC on a hold, and we was like, this guy keeps falling through the floor, that surely all of the bug reports for that specific mob would be grouped together. So they must be able to just do a mass reply, basically, to everybody who reported it saying, you know, this was raised, you know, thank you guys, this issue has now been resolved. It might not even be the issue that you've reported it for, but as long as they give an explanation of what they've done. I just think a little bit of feedback, you know, because I start forgetting to report things, you know, where it's like, because it literally, I'm reporting things and there's still a bug now. You know, there's just not a lot going on. And I mean, the biggest one for me at the moment, which took me ages, well, actually, it was someone in the stream who clearly had the bug before and then helped me out. But I was crafting fell iron bolts, and they was basically going into item slot 1 in my bag, which was where my hearthstone was. And I'm like, where are the mats going? You know, I'm crafting, and I'm not getting them. I had to move my hearthstone out of slot 1, log out, log in, and then they was all there.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's very similar to to what I just mentioned before with those quest items. It seems like there are bugs like that just pop up, and it feels like the pardon my French, the shit show that is /4 in beta at the moment is the best source of information compared to actual Blizzard just giving some feedback.
No, it absolutely
is a shame.
All right, so anyway, we went a little bit off topic there. We're going to get to bugs in a little while, but so QE has obviously found out about the tailoring cooldown, which sparks off a lot of conversations. Mincy, what's something that you want to discuss that you found in the beta this week?
I was working on how you AoE like correctly so it doesn't spread out, like using Flame Strike different ranks and then layering them on top of themselves to do the exact damage that you would as if you were to do like Blizzard, and how like you can still get through like stockades, SM, you can get through even ZF. I did a little bit of ZF yesterday, like off stream, and it's not particularly like too difficult. Obviously, not having slow is it's something to get used to. Obviously, going from classic, but now like doing the new proper AoE rotation without doing like a fire spec, keeping it still in like a shatter spec, is definitely different. If I was to do it in specifically a fire spec, which is what I was going to do today, it would be a lot more different. And that's something that like I've been playing with mostly is AoE manipulation. And I mean, obviously it's not going to be like useful in the beginning because I feel like mages will level their best when they're alts. But I wanted to test out when it's not populated how easily it is to level as a mage, even in through the fire spec instead of the Blizzard spec with the AoE crush.
All right, so how easy was it? I'm sure this is a cutie conversation he's going to want to get involved in because he's a mage as well.
If you do the actual fire spec, it's a lot easier than what I was trying to do. But like when you're layering the flame strikes, as long as you kind of time them out correctly, which I think that's what comes down to a lot of the AoE, you're kind of like laughing and it becomes a second version of the rotation. I don't know. Have you tested it any bit, Fake?
Not yet. I haven't actually been AoE leveling at all. Not yet.
I mean, I don't really do it for leveling. I just do it to try it out and see if the dungeons are still usable, like for boosting. But obviously paladins are probably going to come in and have an easier job. But it's still, I think it's still going to be a job that can be done by a mage up to a certain extent.
Are you not
Mage's
using
mana hold
Blizzard
up?
still though? Oh, sorry, Red's gone.
I would use
That's
a
all right,
rank 1 Blizzard to slow.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, you just rank one
Yeah.
Blizzard, keep them all slowed, and then like weave in flame strikes.
Yep, and then like layer them the best you can, because it is quite a long cast. But like today, what I'm going to try to do is straight fire.
Sorry, Rezi,
So
you had a question for Mint.
With the Shatter spec that you're running, Mint, how are you finding the mana holds up? And like, how long does it take you for the pack? Because you're saying that you're layering multiple flame strikes, like ranks.
Yes.
Do you find that your mana can go a little bit quicker than you would expect, or?
So you'd be surprised with clear casting spec. Like you're obviously gonna go into clear casting a little bit. If you get lucky, or if you correctly time this, you can get your lower rank first, and it procs your max rank. That's how you would do it. Kind of go about it. Yeah, like that's what I personally do to kind of. I fish for clear casts, and the more lucky you are fishing for the clear cast, obviously the better off. It is the beta though, so I am chewing mana pots. Like I probably bought over 400 so far.
Yeah.
So,
But is that going to be the case? Do you think? Is that mana pots now are sort of an essential consumable for boosting? Like even if you was boosting something like I don't know, SM Calf.
I don't know. Generally, I'm okay with like my mana gem because I have like a decent amount of mana. I don't have a lot of gear. Also, you got to remember this. I just have ZG gear because I leveled this character over the last maybe 15, 16 days. So I've gone through 3 or 4 raids, maybe done Oni, haven't even done AQs or anything. So like the biggest thing I guess I would take away is as a medium geared player or like a pre-bis player, you can get away with a lot of it even at level 64. I think I tested a lot of this stuff at. So if you have like max gear, you're doing it. You're gonna do it very easily.
Oh, that's cool. All right, so Reds, what have you discovered?
So what I mentioned earlier about the strangeness that's happening with like your primary backpack that you can't get rid of on your character, like the default one. It just seems like some items go into there, and even though it's full, it still like registers in the background in some level. You have to like move your items around, log out, log back in, and they just pop up. So that was a bit frustrating because I didn't clock that for like 45 minutes, and I'm just running around killing these bloody boars, and I couldn't do this quest. So bit annoying, but rather me than 1,000 people plus on launch day. Like, why can't I do the boar quest? So is what it is. I capped Hunter to 60 in classic and copied him over with incredibly trash gear, and started leveling, as you guys know as well, in Hellfire Peninsula. Had an absolutely easy time as BM, like no problem whatsoever. So I'm tempted to do a test where I'm naked and just see how easy BM can be in terms of like a nice relaxing play style that goes well with beers for sure.
So are you talking about, so like I assume your character's going to be wearing gear but you're going to be naked? I'm not sure how that makes a difference really when it comes to leveling.
It can neither confirm nor deny allegations of naked stream incoming. What are you? So Pornflex is in the chat. Big shout outs to my man. He helped me with. I was starting to test the one button macro for hunters. I'm not at the level where I can incorporate kill command, but I was fiddling around with it just to see how it starts to work with the timing and clipping of your auto shots when using steady shot. And after doing a lot of testing with the 2 variants of macro, you got like 1 to 2 and 3 to 1, or is it 3 to 2? Either way, the 2 main variants that we know from Voldemort servers, they're really not that good and don't work so well. It's almost easier for you to just continuously spam aim shot No, sorry. Is it steady shot? Aim shot. Steady shot.
Steady
It's
shot.
easy
steady
for you to just spam steady shot, and it will always keep you in time and in line with your auto cast, your auto shot cast. So that was quite interesting to see. I think there might have been some clipping with that, but it's just crazy to think that straight out of the bat. As soon as you get that attack, it is plain sail into 70 and beyond, like proper Buzz Lightyear moment. I'll be doing further testing, obviously, once I get kill command as well, see whether or not the macro then starts to play a little bit of a better role. I expect it will to some degree, but I don't think you're going to need to do the same kind of syntax that you would have before in Voldemort servers. So, I'll keep you posted with that one. Although I am aware that Big Bob Boy has been doing some testing too, so big shout outs to him, obviously, and it'll be interesting to see if I come up with the same conclusion that I think he's coming to as well.
And what do you think that conclusion is going to be? Just so, as in, it's going to be better just to actually play your character rather than use a macro.
Yeah, I think it will be better for you to manually time it, and that it will actually result in not a significant DPS loss, but you will not be doing if you're going to be lazy and one button it. I don't think you're going to, it's not as competitive as a skilled player timing their stuff and being in control and piloting their class like they should be, really.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's quite a big step up in difficulty in it, going from one button to using two. So,
well, this is the thing. So the 1 to 2 thing is very, very scary for a lot of people, and obviously, I'll be making a guide to help you gain the confidence, everybody, to make that switch from the 1 button to the 2 button. Trust me, the rotation, it sounds complicated, but together we can work through it. We can up the levels.
Like Kubaba said, it's twice as much work.
twice as much work. It's insane. The only other thing that I did clock as well, I think Mint did as well, and that was on what day was it? Who knows? When I was testing the Draenei starting zone, there is a quest where you need to go to this fisherman night elf who's on the edge of a pier, and he phases out when you get to a certain distance to him, so you can get to him, interact, you try handing the quest, and he phases. And there's 5-6 yards when he runs back. It still blows my mind that's in there. People in my chat were saying it could be a residual thing left over in the code from Legion, Shadowlands, whatever. I mean, it now makes me think we really need to get the support from Blizz to be able to run through and do a load of quests in old world so we can test pre-patch stuff, because if there's phasing in places where it shouldn't exist, wrong game. That's completely wrong game. It's not even remotely the same game.
Well, it's interesting you say that about things phasing out or disappearing, because I was was sort of working through Blaze Edge Mountain, and I was at Toshley Power Station or Toshley Station. Shout out to all the Star Wars fans. But anyway, so wait, there's a room where you go in a little hut, and then it's got a lift. You might remember there's a lift that goes up and down to a quest giver at the top. I was stood there, and looking at the stream, talking to chat, and then looking back at the monitor. I was stood there for a good 10 minutes, and I'm like, "What the fuck? Where is this lift?"
Where's the lift?
I've been stood here for ages, but what it actually does is when it gets halfway down, it disappears, so you don't see it when it's all at the bottom. So it looks like it never actually comes down. But if you see it,
gets there.
Yeah, if you look up, you see it coming down, then it disappears, then you know, all right, I can tread on it now. But I mean, I was getting a bit confused looking at it, because I just assumed, because I was talking to the chat so much, that every time I looked round I'd missed it. But then it got to a point where I was no, surely I would have seen it at some point. It's been 4 hours.
It might have been the beer, bro. It might have been the beer. It's just I think I missed it. I better have another drink.
Exactly.
When did you test it out, Redzy?
Say again?
When did you test that out? When did you test that Draenei thing out? Because I reported that day one.
I think it was a few. It must have been Thursday, I think, because Thursday evening is when I capped my hunter, and then I was like, right, focusing on playing the hunter for a bit.
So we've been in beta almost 2 weeks or a week now.
This is week 2.
Week 2. Okay, so the first day I got in beta, that was my goal, was to do both starting zones to 10, which I did. So I reported that day one, that exact issue you're having. Dude, I'm not even shitting you. I had enough fucking YouTube video footage to probably make like a 20-minute video of me just going back and forth.
Yeah.
I did 20 minutes of just trying to actually get the quest to work, but
I tried to juke him so much. I was like, all right, I got the big brain moment. Okay, I'm gonna stand exactly where he is, log out, log back in, and I can click straight away and be like, bam. No. He was just like, bye. I was like, what?
Dude,
I think you made a really good point,
out.
though, Reds. You made a really good point in the fact that we're all, well, not all, but there's a lot of us focusing on the Outland stuff. I'm focusing on the Outland stuff. I made a Blood Elf and got to level 3, got bored. But it really does need a good play about with all of the quests on the way to 60, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's not probably something many people are doing.
I've been 100%ing the Draenei zone, and I'm almost done. I'm on the last stint of it. And then I plan to do that with Blood Elf, but it just, it gives me a bit of a sinking feeling like, man, what if STV is like broken into northern, southern, like weird phasing, and it doesn't make any sense, or like you try and get to a quest to hand in, you can't, it just, they need to do something to give the testers easier access to be able to test stuff. So like character templates 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, all increments all the way. Like it can't be that much of a ball ache to sort out. And it would really make it so much easier for people to hop in and test stuff that, like, if pre-patch goes live and the old world is broken, you know it's going to be an absolute shit show.
Oh yeah, it's almost as bad as it's actually arguably a lot worse than if there's anything wrong in Outland, because you're going to have people coming back to the game who then, like, they're coming back, they start a level 1 Draenei and Blood Elf, and all they have is problems for 25 levels. They'll just quit.
Mate, imagine you got 40 people all ready to, like, oh man, I'm so excited, pre-patch is back. Right, boys, everyone get full buff, like full world buff times 40 players. They run to Nax, and it's not even in the sky. Just not even phased in. It's not, the instance isn't there or whatever. You're like, what? What do you mean? Like,
yeah,
it could be so broken in so many different ways.
Are you? Was that you with your main finds so far, Reds, this week with your Hunter macro foul? Cool.
Yeah. I'd say that's the biggest one.
All right. Well, we'll have a chance to go around with anything else, because I've got a few little ones, but. And they are really, they're all revolved around, obviously leading on from last week where I said I'd been doing, practicing stealth farm, seeing what you can do, what you can't do as a druid. Because if we know it's possible as a druid, then as a rogue, it's going to be face roll. Well, obviously now I'm 68. I've been doing a few things, actually. So stealth farm practice, obviously, firstly, with actually the right appropriate mining skill. At 70 it won't be a problem. At 68 there's a couple of mines in Mana Tombs but there's one mine location in Mana Tombs that you just quite simply cannot get as a druid, whereas as a rogue you'd be able to sort of sap, blind, mine, vanish, jobs are good. But as a druid it's slightly more difficult. A lot of people keep asking about Orkandon and saying, or Orkandoon, or whatever you want to call the area, or can you just go around and do all the dungeons and then reset, and it counts as one? No, it's not like Scarlet Monastery. Every single one of them's on a separate reset. So you're best off farming the one that actually gives, the one you find most easy to do, which as a druid would be Mana Tombs, because you're probably guaranteed, let's say, in 5 runs, you're going to be guaranteed 8, I would say, 8 adamantite or rich adamantite, which I was getting about 10 ores and probably 3 or 4 motes on average each run, which is a lot when you think that's going to be like 2.5 stacks and a couple of primals, or 2.5 stacks and just over a primal. And I was averaging about 4 minutes a run. So that's really quick adamantite ore. So that's the first thing. Second thing is I made the mote extractor today. And I was playing about with it. The amount of air that you actually get in Nagrand is, well, I think it's ludicrous. As in, so I got 5, 5, 4, 5, 3. So I found 5, and I was getting 5 motes of. I got 5 motes of air from the first, then 5 again, then 4, then 5 again, then 3. So there was only one where there was 3, but 5 or 4. So that in that space of like 10, 15 minutes flying around, it was like 2 primal airs. But they're going to be heavily camped, obviously. So, you know, like you said earlier, there's about 5 people playing on the beta at the moment. So they were, and all of them are on separate layers. So it was quite easy, you know, to find them. But it will be lucrative and it will be botted. It will be farmed, you know, as in sitting at the location waiting for the spawn and then just using it. Now, I tried to sort of time how long they take to spawn, but they didn't spawn in 15 minutes. So whether they just rotate round, I'm not 100% sure. If any of you know, obviously feel free to let me know. I don't know if they rotate round where there's always got to be 3 or 4 available out of a potential 30 spawns or something like that. But there was 2 right next to each other that I got, and it was actually that one I've done a video on about around Oshigan. I'm telling you now, that place, everyone like commenting saying, oh no, the bots will just do it. Yeah, they will, because that around Oshigan is going to be camped heavily.
Yeah.
Because you've got Primal Earth, Primal Shadow, Primal Air, Cleft Hoof Meat, Adamantite Ores, Rich Adamantite Ores, Corium, and Moat Extractor, you know, gas clouds. All in one circle.
It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, just run round there all day and you'll be raking the gold in. But, I mean, to be fair, the main things I've been doing is questing. Yeah, getting to 68. I've done every single group quest. Well, I've done every single quest in Hellfire Peninsula, Zangarmarsh, Terakar, Nagrand, and I'm halfway through Blade's Edge. But I've not missed a quest. And so far, I mean, the gold you're going to make while you're leveling, doing all those quests, I've made about 2k. Just by level 68, which ain't bad really, because the majority of the gold you know is going to come when you're level 70 doing all the quests. But I think you could comfortably get to 70 just by questing to 70, probably halfway through Neverstorm, I reckon. Because I've still got loads left in Blade's Edge. So, and you know, I've not really done that many dungeons. Well, I've died in a lot, but that's it.
Really? I thought you did 0 deaths in all your dungeons. I thought it was 10 out of 10 0 deaths world records. That's what I saw anyway.
Yeah, not what I remember, but I was pretty drunk. I remember it being really painful, and the tank was pulling like 7 and 8 packs at a time, and then complaining that Pornflakes, the healer, couldn't keep him up. That's how I sort of remember it going. Yeah, and I also do remember him jumping up and down on a ledge in slave pens for about 30 minutes when mages do it in about 6.
But pulling more.
Yeah, I know, that was my fault. Yeah, we won't talk about our fouls. We won't talk about our fouls. But yeah, as I say, the main ones for me, I have got a few other bits which I'll go over when it gets back to me again. Because I found a lot of interesting smaller things, nothing major, but things that people might not realise. But Cutie, let's go back to you. Have you found anything else notable outside of the tailoring cooldowns?
Actually, some other cooldowns. Now that you mention it, for example, Arcanite Bar and Moonclove.
So, are you reading my OneNote or something? Literally, I've got point 1 was 70 gold. If each cloth is 70 gold, you could make a profit switching between. Point 2, Mooncloth and Arcanite Bar has no cooldown.
Yeah, well, you're sharing your screen right now.
Yeah, you are.
Go on, mate. Go on, carry on.
But yeah, Arcanite Bar and Mooncloth cooldown, no cooldown. So this is huge. But then again, it's not really gonna be needed anymore. The good thing about Mooncloth cooldown being removed just mean that maybe you could actually level up your tailoring by crafting the Mooncloth cooldowns now in TBC, which could be huge, because then after making the Mooncloth, you could then eventually make the Mooncloth bag. The downside, however, is going to be that Netherweave bag is also 16 slot, and many people might actually craft these to level up their tailoring. So I don't know if it's going to be efficient, but still that the cloth cooldown and Arcanite Bar cooldown is removed is huge. But yeah, beside that, another thing I noticed was I did next Ramas the other day, and I already have the shoulder enchants from the second last boss, but I actually got a new pair, and then I decided to try to compare them to, the Eldor and Scryer's enchants, the best shoulder enchants in TBC, And for me as a mage, I would actually prefer Naxxramas Shoulders enchant. So this still means that now I've saved maybe around 2 to 5k gold in TBC, because I can actually use these shoulder enchants. I don't have to get exalted with Scryers anymore. At least not for the first phase. Like the first phase, I have these shoulder enchants. So when I get Gladiator Shoulders, I can use the Naxxramas Shoulders enchants, and I've saved a lot of gold. While if I had to get best shoulder enchants, I would have to get exalted. This still mean I would need to buy the Arcane Tomes or Fellow Marmot. Can't remember how you pronounce it, but there's these items you can turn in for reputation.
It's quite interesting what Pornflakes has just said in chat. That you can apply it through the trade window as well. So we're going to get people who will be selling those guilds that are just still running Nax and then selling shoulder enchants.
Then the question is, because I tested it as well, it seems like if someone has shoulders equipped and you try to enchant through the trade window, you can't. It has to be bind on equip items, because I bought a pair of green shoulders on Auction House and I enchanted them and they kept being BOE. So this was of course huge, but I don't think if someone gets a bind on pickup item, you can't, enchant his shoulders.
I've not tested it. As I say, I don't know. It's not even something
I have tested it, and for me it didn't work. So I'm unsure if Pornflake. Yeah, I did put it in. It will not be traded, and I couldn't. So maybe it was. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I couldn't.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, well, I'll go do some more testing maybe with Pornflake, and we can see, because if this is true, then getting Naxxramas shoulder enchants right now, as many as you can probably sell them for 1,000 of gold, so people don't have to do their profession or their reputation farm with Eldor Scryers.
Yeah, I mean that is pretty massive, because it can be a proper time sink.
Yeah, because now you can focus on something completely else. Of course, there's good rewards from getting exalted besides shoulder enchants. There could be some epics, but for me, for example, as a mage, I don't need exalted. I don't need to get that epic ring from Scryers, because it gives stamina. I don't need that. It could be good for a warlock, but not for me. So the fact that getting shoulder enchants from Naxxramas, that saves me gold, it saves me time that I could spend on working on my profession, for example.
Can I do just a quick self plug? Not that I need to do it here. But, so I've actually got a Scryers and Eldor video going out at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, which is looking at switching. How to switch from Eldor to Scryers or Scryers to Eldor. And just not a tip, but you know what? I think it's going to have massive gold potential. I think it could potentially be one of the best farms in the game. Like literally better than anything else. Because the items that you need to switch, so it's the Dreadfang Venom Sacks or the Basilisk Eyes. Now, if you're farming, I know this is completely off topic, but just while we're talking about Scryers and Eldor, so if you're switching to Scryers, it's the Basilisk Eyes. The Basilisk Eyes drop Chunker Basilisk, the meat, which is for the 23 spell power food. So if you was to be farming basilisks, selling the eyes for people who want to change to Scryers, selling cooking and selling the food is going to be massive anyway, because every single caster is going to be using that food. And then the other one is the Netherweb Spider Silk. So if you're farming Netherweb Spider Silk and they drop Dreadfang Venom Sacks at the same time, anyone who wants to change to Eldor will be buying those, and every tailor in the game will be buying the Nether Spider Silk. Just want to point out there.
I like it.
I genuinely think for people swapping from one to the other could be such an amazing farm.
But do you really think people will do it? I mean, there's going to be so many tailors and going to be so many people going for it. So, for example, me, if I was playing a mage and I could get Scryers to Exalted and Eldor, I could get the leg enchants, for example. But Eldor Exalted doesn't really give me anything, and same with Scryers. So do you think a lot of people would do this? Also because the epic gear...
Tell me why I would do it. I don't want anything from Eldor. I don't want anything from Eldor or Scryers apart from in last phase, the proc, obviously on the Shattered Sun neck. Why will I be doing this grind just for me? Even though I'm not bothered about either of them. Hero of Shattrath. the achievement in Wrath of the Lich King. You'll get credit once you go Aldor in TBC, and then once you switch to Scryers in TBC, come Wrath, boom, you've got that title. I'll be doing it 100%. But it's the same way in TBC. I plan to try and work through the Insane as well, which is
big shout out to Hero Sans in chat. He knew exactly where you were going straight away. It was like, oh, that Wrath of the Lich King achievement, baby.
Yeah, that's literally why I'll be doing it. I bet there will be a lot of people that will be thinking exactly the same thing. And plus, there will be people that accidentally pick the wrong faction. I'll tell you why and how that'll happen, because it almost happened to me. And I like to... I am an idiot, but I like to think I'm not an idiot. When you've got Questy on, and you've got it all set to auto-accept and all of that, every single person that does the Shattrath quest will go Aldor. Because it auto-accepts the top quest.
Pass you there, yeah.
So you'll have people who want to go Scryers, forget they've got Questy turned on, and boom, they're now Aldor. So what they're going to do, they're going to have to go and buy... They'll have to buy the Venom Sacks to switch to Scryers.
I know
so you're
people
breaking on
people's
people's mistakes
text right now and say you won't believe what you're going to do, mate.
I tell you, it's going to happen. It happened to me. It was just fortunate that I actually wanted to be Aldor, because if I didn't, I'd have been pretty annoyed. And what are you going to do? You're going to blame an add-on? Do you think do you think Blizzard are going to do anything about that because you don't know how to use add-ons?
Yeah, you open a GM ticket and just get nothing but dust back.
Yeah. So that's I can see them being valuable there, because I tell you now, 100% people are going to make that mistake, and I can also see people going the Eldor or Scryers because of like whatever reason. There's an item they want, or they prefer the shoulder enchant or whatever, and then when it gets to Sunwell, when we get to phase 5 and they realise that actually the Aldor proc on the neck is stronger, they'll change to Aldor.
They'll switch.
Yeah, so it's going to stay relevant throughout the entire expansion. But I just wanted to throw that in there anyway. It's going to, I like gold farms. I don't like doing them, but it's interesting to know which ones are going to be good. And I personally think it's one that's going to stay relevant, all the way through. And as I say, forget the Basilisk Eyes or the Venom Sacks. It's the other stuff that they drop. Those spiders and those basilisks are two really valuable mobs. Mark my words. Anyway, where was we? What was you was talking about shoulder enchants, weren't you, Cutie? That was where we was at.
Yeah.
Was we? Can we move on from that? Was we finished?
Yeah, we finished. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of sidetracked it. Sorry, Mince. Anything else from you in terms of new finds?
Well, I was kind of going off of Fake Cuties and yours, pretty much. Like the Moonclaw thing, that was kind of huge that I kept secret. I didn't even make it known that I knew it was kind of happening that way, because over the last few days I bought a stack of felt cloth and copied it over and over and over, just to see if I can create a guide if that cooldown does not go into the first phase. Because if that doesn't happen, we can already stack stuff to pump us into a certain area of tailoring level right off the get-go, and then just go straight from there and just nether weave until 225 or 325, I believe. But if that cooldown's not there, then I want to make a guide without that cooldown being there, and I think it'll be more valuable and a lot easier and faster, personally. But that's really all I was kind of looking towards, is doing that tailoring guide.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking about professions, I did level my engineering to 3. I think I'm 355 now, actually. It was so cheap and so easy. I know it's the later, it's the sort of 360 to 375 that gets difficult, but I was shocked that the fact that I've not really done that much mining, and just the stuff that I've kept whilst mining. I've not bought any or anything like that, and I could get to making the goggles pretty much straight away, which was, by goggles I mean the goggles where you can see the gas clouds, by the way. I'm not saying proper engineering goggles are in the game, although they should be.
I agree.
Yeah. Redsy, anything else from you? What you found looking at your list? I know you've got a very organised spreadsheet going on.
I do, yeah, but nothing really that exciting to report back yet. Most of it is still stuff that I want to do double checks on and things. There is, however, a couple of bits that would be fun to bring up that have been posted on the Classic WoW Reddit or the TBC Classic Reddit. One geezer has used a load of Slowfall, a Noggenfogger Elixir, and the Rocket Boots at 68 currently in beta from a high position in Neverstorm, and has flown over and got to Tempest Keep dungeons, which is pretty cool. But then there are reports as well that people recall, and I don't, but people recall that initially you couldn't use a Warlock to summon anyone to anywhere in Neverstorm because the area was unstable.
Correct.
Does
and
anyone
that's how it should
remember
be
that?
now. It wasn't changed until 2.4, where you could start summoning. You won't find it in patch notes. It's undocumented in 2.4. But yeah, you'll find like not Blizzard written patch notes. You'll find undocumented change notes on like Gamepedia and WoW Wiki and stuff like that. But you're correct. That is correct, and that's exactly how it should be. They should completely disable Warlock summoning. So have you heard what they're doing? See, I wouldn't stop that. Now, because you're talking, someone's got to go and farm Noggenfogger, and they have to be engineering to be able to use a real. When you watch that guy do it as well, I mean, it's really tight. You know, if he'd have if he'd have jumped one step early,
yeah, you can fuck that up and you're off.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You got to try again, and you just wasted a lot of money and time.
And you now need a group of 5, all engineers, to be able to do that. For me, that is a clever use of your profession and being able to jump and do stuff. Yeah, I like that. You know, as in, I wouldn't remove that. Yeah. I would remove summoning in Neverstorm straight away. Because have you seen what they've been doing? As in, that's one way of getting up. But the way they've actually been getting up is Swiftmend and Rebirth, like a Resto Druids, or any Druids. Well, Resto Druids, because they need Swiftmend. Swiftmend and Rebirth in a Warlock, a level 20 Warlock. They then fall and die again. And then the next Druid will then Swiftmend and Rebirth the Warlock, and they can get it from the land all the way up to Alcatraz.
You're kidding.
So you've got groups of 68s doing with no flying, doing doing Alcatraz and Botanica and everything.
Mate, that is absolutely nuts, isn't it? The sheer coordination on Discord as well.
Yeah, right, I mean,
Druid 1, go. Druid 2, go.
It's
Johnny, what are you doing?
Fairly genius, to be fair. It's fairly genius.
Yeah, I mean, respect.
But how do you fix that? You stop Warlocks being able to summon, full stop.
Yeah.
That's it.
Is that exploitation, you think?
I mean, it's not intended. I mean, anything that's not intended can be classed as an exploit, can't it? In my opinion, anyway. That's that's how I would. My definition of an exploit would be something that you do that is not intended to be done, and you know you're doing wrong, but you do it anyway. I mean, are you doing wrong by rezzing someone all the way up there? I mean, yeah, it is exploiting, I suppose, but it's not. Yeah, I say, just stop being able to summon in Neverstorm. To be honest with you, it's going to make everything alt-wise an absolute joke, because now all of a sudden none of your alts need to be able to fly to be able to get into raids. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
you know, the gold
that is
sync,
a problem and a half.
Yeah, the gold sync to be able to get Karatune just on the flying part, never mind the time. You know, that's not deterrent enough, but you don't really want to spend 1,000 gold to be able to fly if you don't need to. Just being able to get summoned at 68 and do all the attunements and everything, I'm dead against it. And I can't believe you can summon in Neverstorm. Like, it shows how out of touch with how this game works Blizzard really is. You know, if they think that that's fine. But,
yeah, one thing, okay, because you mentioned, you can use rocket boots, but you need to get engineering up. You need to get rocket boots. Like, all these things, like getting this prepared takes way longer than just getting to 70 and buy a flying mount.
And buying flying, yeah.
Yeah, it's way easier. And like, why do people want to go there? 68. They need to do Shadow Libran first. They need to pick up the Carson pre-quest. Like, they need to do a lot of stuff before they even get to the part where they're going to do Botanica, Alcatraz, Mechana, like. And then they also need to do some quests in Netherstorm before they get the quest where, you know, they have to go to these dungeons to get to the key to get into Alcatraz. Yeah. So I don't know. If people are going to try to get engineering on rocket boots, it's going to be easier just to get to 70 and buy a flying mount, and then start your Karazhan attunement at 68. And once you get to the point where you need to do Alcatraz, you'll most likely be 70 anyway. Because you have to do a lot of dungeons at 68, and then you have to start the quest chain in Netherstorm as well. So I'm not really worried about it. But on the other hand, the summoning thing, that's going to be insane for sure. Like, there's going to be a lot of warlocks, if that's going to be the case, selling summons to, the fragment, the second fragment.
I was going to say, that's it. They're going to sell summons straight to fragments, or to like the named mobs that are part of any kind of pre-quest, so the fragment quest, or like the getting the Alcatraz key, and like even just anything to speed up any process, to circumvent the natural intended way you're supposed to progress through being able to go into these heroics, then go into the raid, and then go here. Any way for players to make money from speeding up that process, even though it's going to happen. So I agree. The Netherstorm summoning, that needs to be out.
Yeah, and the thing is, for me, we're worried about speed. Yeah, we're not speed, but the fact that if people can get up there at 68, it's not like that. As I've not got an issue with if you have to be engineering to be able to use rocket boots and you need a stack of noggin fogger, to cheese your way up there. That, in my opinion, that's fine. You could quite easily change it. If you haven't got flying, it automatically teleports you back down. I'm not saying it's beyond the wit of man to actually work it out, but the whole summoning thing for me, where all you're going to do is it's going to be a big, rather than it being a race to 70 and then it's a race to the to killing the bosses and all that, it's actually going to be a race purely to killing the bosses. You will see guilds at 68 not even bothering getting to 70. They will be in Karazhan 100%. I'm not being funny. We will be. We will be. If we can get up there at 68, we will be up there at 68 doing our attunement, and we'll be in Karazhan at 68 and a half. Because 100%. You're first or you're last. But I don't want it to be like that, because that's going to ruin the whole TBC feel, the way it's meant to be. You get to 68, you start working on your attunement, then you get to 70, you can then fly, you can now go up and finish your attunement. You then need to do some dungeons, get some bits of gear, then you go into Karazhan. It's that, the whole pacing, the way it all works, the way it's all meant to be like quite linear in comparison to, Classic. We saw it in Classic, wherever there was level 54s, 55s, whatever in the first Molten Core run. I don't want that personally. I know it's not about what I want, but it's not an authentic TBC feel. And I know we're never going to get an authentic TBC feel, but Blizzard could get it quite close by just changing very, very minor things, like being able to summon into Netherstorm. That was added as a catch-up mechanic. It was added as a catch-up mechanic, so treat it as a catch-up mechanic and don't have it in at the start. In my opinion, it's that simple.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that like people are not going to buy flying mount if they can get summoned to these locations. But do you really think people will not buy flying mount? Like, if you skip flying mount, then when you at some point have to do these dungeons, then you once again have to find a warlock and you like stuff like that.
Oh no, you're gonna get flying. Yeah, sorry, I just mean at 50. I just mean at 68. I'm talking about how you can physically get into Karazhan at 68. Because the only thing really stopping you is flying. But if you can get up there without flying, and you can cheese a warlock all the way up to the top, apparently the beta's just gone down, so the 70 cap could incoming, maybe.
70 boost would be lovely as well then.
I was going to ask you about that, fake cutie. Because I heard you talking about it today. Like, the biggest thing with the fake or the instant 70 boost, what do you think you'll utilize the most from it? I mean, I don't mean to go off topic here.
But well, myself, I'm mostly into PvP, so the fact that I can test, like right now, I have to level a character all the way up to 70, for example, without a boost, when the cap is going to be raised to 70. So this do mean like people who get beta today, for example, there's not that many players. They might send out some new invites soon. So these players have to join in on their level 60 character, and then they have to do leveling all the way up to 70 before they can test, for example, a class in Arena. And some players have a lot of knowledge, but maybe they don't have a beta yet. So if they're going to invite more people, I feel like getting that 70 boost would be awesome to test mechanics when it comes to PvP, because it's going to be so important. I know a lot of people don't care much about PvP, but myself I do, and I prefer that people can actually boost to 70 right now on beta when the level cap is going to be raised. So we have some proper testing in Arena. Like right now, you can get to 68. There's a lot of abilities that you unlock at like 70. All these need to be tested, and it would be awesome if you can make, now you make a warrior, now you make a mage, like you can just bam get to 70 and you can get some proper testing.
It's almost like they need to look at how Endless do things. Not Endless, I've never played on that server, but I hear they've got some sort of arena server.
Voldemort? Who? What?
Yeah, Voldemort. Look, I just need to quickly nip away for 2 secs, but can you boys just start off a discussion amongst yourselves about... I don't think we spoke about it last week because I don't think it had been announced by last week. Did we talk about world buffs and the fact that it's been confirmed in a blue post that world buffs
No, it wasn't in last week, so we can definitely talk about that.
I think that's something you can just kick off. Well, I'm literally going to be 30 seconds. But, what we think about that. Forget the classic era stuff. We're not really bothered about that bloody, I don't know, gizmo that you get where you can snapshot. But just TBC in general, how a no world buff expansion's going to look.
Red, fire away.
Drum roll.
Right. Well, I think that it's obviously going to alleviate a lot of the pressures that more casual players or players who are hardcore but don't have enough time to commit to the whole collection of the world buff sort of meta, etc. That kind of removal of that aspect from the game is just going to be able to allow a lot more people to get in and play the game and experience content that they really want to. But at the end of the day, they've not really been able to, because if you think about how we always say, min-max culture, or I say we always say, people always say, the people, like min-max culture, and how they're not about that life, they don't want that. TBC brings in a load of viability for a load of classes now and a load of specs, so that's a great thing. And that kind of freedom coupled with the removal of world buffs means that the min-max culture now, it has an opportunity to kind of die down a bit. But from my experience in Classic, going in, I didn't know anything about any kind of Voldemort server metas that had been going down. And I learned about that stuff on my way to 60. And it was like a trickle-down effect from the top players down to me at the very bottom. And by the time I got to 60... min-max culture was normal, and like the idea, like in the beginning I was like, no way am I getting world buffs, and then by the time I got to the end for raiding, I'm like, yeah man, I'm gonna use fucking Team Viewer to remote in and get my world buffs from work, and I'll be ready to rock. Like, it's crazy how that is a slippery slope. And I think the removal of the world buffs from TBC just means that everyone's gonna have a much easier time getting stuck in with the content and having a good time. My opinion. What do you reckon, QT?
Yeah, well, for me, I love it as well. The fact that I can enjoy my main way more. Like, when I'm done raiding, I can go out in the open world, I can farm stuff, I can do arenas, I can do BGs, like, I can do whatever I want to. It's not like I have to log in, get world buff, and then now for the next 3-4 days, I can't play this character. That's going to... Like, there's so many things in TBC that we have to do. Reputation farms, proficients, PvP gearing, of course, getting grinding gold. Like, you have to prepare for PvE and PvP, so that you don't have to do world buffs. That's amazing. Like, you can actually get to enjoy the game instead of having to make an ult so you have something you can play on, and then at some point your ult also need to get the world buffs, and now you need to make a third character. Like, it's just repeatable. So yeah, that's amazing.
What do we class as world buffs though? As in, so do we think that it means, because a lot of people have been saying no, it only means classic. It doesn't mean any buffs that you'll get in TBC. So I mean, do we think that you're going to walk in the raid, you go in the raid and it wipes all of your buffs? So let's say you're a druid and you mark of the wild yourself, then walk through the instance portal. Will that be gone? The only reason I ask is because there are some temporary buffs that are going to get abused, but you wouldn't class them as world buffs. You wouldn't class the the Spore Bat, for example. When you kill a Spore Bat, you get a buff. You're not going to class that as a world buff, but you would summon in someone with that on who wants to try and pass. How far does it go?
My suspicion would be that they'd be able to. I'd expect them to be able to code it so that if it was something that was provided by another player or an item, then it wouldn't be removed. But if it was something that was like an effect from, as you just quoted there, like the killing the bat, being able to determine the source of the buff, they should be able to just have a rule where it's like, if from player or item, yes. If not, then remove. That's what I would expect to happen. I hope.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Because I mean, if people are going to start expecting, it's just the same thing as before. It's like, well, no way am I gonna like go get Warsheep's Blessing, but I did every goddamn time. Don't you worry, and everything else, the Songflower, everything. But like, the idea that like, all right, so we escaped the world buff meta from Classic, but you still got to go and like kill a bat 5 minutes before Ray gets summoned in so that you can keep it. Come on, man. Like, we're so close to being away from it. I hope I hope that kind of stuff gets ruled out.
I don't know if you have to be worried about it, because on beta I tested something myself according to like buffs. So geocrafters can, for example, craft this nick that gives you and your party group a buff. But for example, I tried to buff a hunter and the pet. I left group and the hunter lost the buff. Also, like, if I did this buff on myself and I unequip the neck and equip my main neck, I would actually lose the buff as well. So I don't think you have to be worried about it. Like, if you leave a group or you join a new raid group, there's a high chance you might actually lose your old buffs, which is really awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so that was just, I know that was brief, but just interesting to get some views on world buffs. The next, I've got 2 points what I want us to discuss now. Now, we've already spoke about, we briefly mentioned some bugs that we've seen at the start. We've spoke about sort of big things, or what we consider quite big, that we've discovered in the last week. Now let's talk about what's been overall discovered by the wider community. So obviously Redzi touched on one with the getting up to Alcatraz and stuff without being 68. What about the fact that we've got guilds doing heroics at level 68? I mean, what are your views on that? I'm not going to name guilds or anything like that, but we know there are groups of people who are getting through heroics at level 68. Don't all talk at once. Okay.
I'm holding my tongue because I always jump in and talk. I want to let the other guys.
Let me see.
Quick. I can say something quick to like maybe spark it off. Do you think this is kind of going in the path that Classic went? Like the first week, people were, destroying Molten Core. Yes, there were still bugs, but they were still getting through the content. Do you think that's what's happening right now with the beta? Is the way people play video games now compared to 13, 14 years ago is people min-max them so much. Do you think we're going to have an issue going forward? The content isn't going to be tuned enough for us. Like, it's going to be too easy now with all the information we have at the tip of our fingers, and the fact that like we're constantly like in bigger communities with Discord and stuff that are literally showing you how to play a class practically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do you think we're in that kind of like arrow to shoot off that ship into that planet, so to speak?
I think looking back at the way that the average player kind of expected to be rolling into vanilla / classic, and what they said that like their acceptable level of commitment, world buffs, or I don't need to get loads of add-ons, and then suddenly you're all running the same weak aura strings so that you can sync up whether or not you've got Sunder, etc. Like people I think back then massively underestimated how either difficult it was to execute these things, but also massively underestimated the player base in terms of what they're capable of. And I think it's quite likely that, like I mentioned earlier with the trickle-down effect, I think that, obviously this guild, whoever that are able to clear a heroic at 68, I think they are probably cutting edge, and not everybody's going to be able to do that. But it is an indicator of like, okay, the median average level of like skill that a player is at, or the player base is at, they probably are going to have an easier time, just like they did with Classic. I mean, I'm not a good fucking player, and my greatest achievement is killing Oni 5 days after release. All I did was stay awake and play the game.
Yeah. All right. So let me play. Now that was my own point that I threw out there. So now I'm going to play devil's advocate against myself. So are we just doing heroics at 68 because it's the beta? Realistically, do we see people in live going into heroics at 68 or rushing to 70?
Yeah.
They're going to rush 70, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. It's because there's nothing to do right now in beta. Like, people have had time to farm reputation to get the keys. People would rather focus when it's the real deal to get to 70. And we have talked many times about Fresh, and people saying, hey, I want Fresh because we need the economy to be reset. But this is the main reason why I in the past preferred Fresh, because next Rammus gear is just insane. It's such it's as good as level 70 gear from heroics, and yeah, it's insane. And of course, heroics is not going to be difficult when you bring gear that's equal to pretty much what you get in heroics. So yeah, I don't know. We will see this no matter what.
When we really then dig even deeper into it, so let's think the difference between 68 and 70. You're going to get a few more upgrades in Neverstorm, or let's say, or Shadow Moon, wherever you're questing. You know, you might replace 1 or 2 items, possibly from a group quest. You're going to get 2 extra talent points. For most classes, by the time you're 68, your build is pretty much finished, and you're now you're on filler talents. The amount of stats that you're going to get is not going to be increasing that much. The hit chance and defense is going to make a difference. Don't get me wrong, quite a decent difference. 2 levels of sort of hit or avoidance in general, but actually rushing to 68 and doing heroics or rushing to 70, there's probably not going to be a massive difference between the guys who are doing it at 68 now in their gear and if they got to 70 and was doing it. So on the basis that I have personally heard of, some of these tanks in full tier 3 getting one-shotted by certain mobs in heroics at 68, that would to me say they're still going to hit bloody hard at 70. It's still going to be challenging in full tier 3. So I don't think it's not cause for alarm in my eyes, but I just thought it was something worth bringing up because a lot of people are talking about it.
What this does kind of raise is something that I've been thinking as well. I'm sure I'm not the only person who's come to the conclusion, but it's just another reason why we need to get so many more people into the beta and to have so many more tools available, i.e., be able to make a 70, a 65, or whatever, not green gear, blue gear variants. Just vendors that you can go and get gear and try different things out and find out the limits of where the difficulty truly lies. Because at the moment, we've got a very, very closed environment. Obviously, it's a closed beta, so yes. But the environment has been pumped full of, a majority of them are full tier 3, Scarab Lord, 10 out of 10, top pass heroes. And more power to them. But that's not going to give you an accurate representation of how difficult content is from 60 to 70, at 70, in heroics, and beyond. You need to have more of the average Joes, like me, in there, dying and wiping 1,000 times an underbog just to see if we can do a skip. We can't accurately gauge the difficulty because we've got some really top tier players in there with absolutely top tier gear.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Get John, your next door neighbour, in, who still wipes in Strat because he keyboard turns and don't know how to use a mouse. Seriously, let's get some of those guys in and let's see how they fare in heroics at 68. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, you'll see more of the meta shift.
Yeah, you'll see people because I genuinely do think that I think. I'm not going to say they're going to be overly challenging, as in I don't think heroics are going to be massively, challenging to a full guild group of, 5 people who play together regularly. But I still think pugging heroics in the first week of being 70, I think it's going to be more painful than people are realising, and it will be, people looking at these top, tier players who are, doing it at 68, but not actually them thinking, well, Christ, can you imagine if I had next door neighbour John who keyboard turns? What's this going to look like now? Or 45 minutes trying to skip 2 packs in slave pens because people can't jump from one bridge to another. It's. I think they're the pains that we're going to feel, which I'm looking forward to. I like that. I like that pain. But let's move on to the last. So the last point, which is going to be, I need to go last on this because I might actually completely sort of derail the entire conversation if I speak first.
You're going to go 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought I'll make this the last point because we've been going for about an hour and a half already. I think if this next point could probably take the rest of the night. Pathing in instances. So yes.
I knew it. I didn't bring it up earlier. I knew it.
Not just passing. So shout out to like Crix. I've seen Crix's video recently on abusing warlocks being able to just constantly curse of exhaustion and run around soloing mobs in slave pens. We know it's happening. Are we all right with it?
Quickly to clarify, because somebody asked in chat, and just in case there are any others who are unsure, pathing is the method in which a monster is able to find a route to your character to attack you. So if you jump on top of an object, it has to then change its path. So instead of going straight to you, it has to go around a thing to find an elevated position to then come around to get to you.
Like a prime example would be to go to ZF, jump up the castle, and then just magically be able to jump back and forth from parts of the higher wall and be able to slow them indefinitely until you run out of mana. Don't know anyone that would try that or anything, but
no.
Well,
would you say that the game is not intended this way then? Like, do you think the game developers intended the game this way, and everyone that's not a mage is mad? Not saying because I'm a mage, I'm making it seem like this is how the game's supposed to be played. Stop crying about it, because it generally if it feels wrong, it shouldn't be in the game. And let me tell you, when you're going from level 41 to level 53 in the same instance over a weekend where you're playing 2 hours a day, maybe. It feels a little fucking cheesy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, me personally, do I think it should be in the game? No. Is it in the game? Yes. Am I going to use it? Yes, until someone gets in trouble for it. That's my opinion, I guess, on it.
Yeah.
I mentioned this, in the last podcast, where, I mentioned that we didn't use a tank in my dungeon. We just used a few casters. And we soloed bosses, and you can actually do this in Heroic as well. You just find, locations where they can hit you. You can just keep abusing this. And this is going to be insane also if people are going to boost people in Heroics, for example. You will see everyone do this. If it's going to be a thing that is going to be allowed, or people are not getting punished for it, everyone will do it. And it's going to be huge if you can do heroics. Who cares about next Ramus gear when you can do this stuff? You don't even need insane gear. If you could just abuse this, you jump on a box and the monster or boss has to use 30 seconds to reach you. You jump down and he has to use another 30 seconds to reach you. You don't need great gear. You just spend a bit of time and you can get some great loot. And I feel like it's going to be really bad. And imagine if there's going to be something in raids where you can actually do this as well. There has to be done a lot of testing. And I feel like it's also going to be a lot of work if they have to fix the pathing. Because it's going to be in every single dungeon. They have to do it.
Yeah, so just to clarify for chat, so obviously the warlock abuse is not that's not a pathing issue. Like I said, that is curse of exhaustion. Just keeping them forever slowed, whilst just running around a big circle, keeping them all dotted and slowly just rotting them away. It's not. I'm not saying there's any abuse of mechanics there whatsoever. For me, obviously in slave pens on that ledge, like Cutie just said, having them run 30 seconds around. We was doing it for a laugh. We was pulling literally. I was running around in bear form, pulling the entire instance.
The whole thing.
Yeah, literally.
Not even kidding you. He literally just had me and Pawn sit up, slow the mobs, and he would gather more. And he'd get them up, and we'd gather them, and then he'd go and get more once I had aggro. We just swapped it. We did this literally for about. I think my mana let me do it for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was painfully long and quite boring, but we was abusing pathing, and now I'm not like you've said, Mince, if it's in the game, you're going to do it. It's going to be the quickest way to level. Of course, you're going to do it. Same way I would do it if I was a mage, or if I was a warlock, I'd run around in circles, just keeping everything curse of exhaustion and rotting them down. And it's a no-brainer. Whatever's the quickest way, you're going to do. Because let's face it, the leveling aspect of the game, I say no one particularly enjoys. I don't want to tire everyone with the same brush. I don't enjoy it. I'd rather just get to max level, start working on reps, getting in dungeons, doing all the group play. The actual leveling for me is neither in or there. If I could just press a button and skip straight to 70, I would do it. But it's not about whether it's abusing mechanics, it's exploiting, it's that doesn't matter. Should it be changed? So you can't do it because, again, we always need to think about Blizzard's intention when they made the game. They intended, it's called a 5-man dungeon, or it's called a 5-man heroic.
Exactly.
It's called that for a reason.
Right.
It's not called a optional 5-man. As in you can do it on your own, but it's optional if you want to take 5. It's a 5-man dungeon. So surely they intended on 5 people being in there and doing it. So if one specific class can do it on their own by clever use of mechanics, we'll call it clever use of mechanics, should it be something that they change? And I would be on the fence of on the other side of the fence of saying yes, they should. Which, if it's however they do it is irrelevant. There's been some suggestions in chat while we've been talking. So, after 5 minutes of being in combat, a group of mobs after 5 minutes of being in combat, they can't be slowed anymore, or they enrage. I don't think enrage because, but I think not being able to be kited anymore. So they all, after 5 minutes, they become immune to slows. Because let's face it, one pack of mobs, if you can't kill one pack in 5 minutes, even with like dog crap gear, you probably shouldn't be in there. So I just think adding something to these mobs to just limit the abuse of mechanics that you can do. And it's the same with the kiting around on on ledges. For me, just have the mobs teleport. If you jump up on a ledge, the mobs teleport to you. That. Oh, and actually, Bomo's just said that in chat. That's what happens on shady servers we're not allowed to talk about. But it's what should be done just to counteract that. And if these servers can do it, then surely Blizzard can. And Blizzard must see how damaging it is, even just to the MMO aspect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of these people who wants to go around and hold hands with people and do quests. I'm not that bothered. But it does remove a lot. It basically removes all mages from the world. Because why would they go out and do anything with anyone on quest when they can just sit in there?
They've got no incentive to be outside in the real world doing... There's absolutely no incentive whatsoever. Well, there is, but when they weigh up their time, the cost effective of it and everything, they're like, well, I'm just going to do the thing that's best for me, and that'll be that alone, or charging people or whatever. But I'm with you, and I think that the dungeons are intended to be a challenge for 5 people to band together and take on some Lord of the Rings level task of like trying to smash through a dungeon. That's the intention. If they can strike a balance where you can't cheese it and circumvent it by jumping up on the ledge, for example, and waiting for them to go back and forth, but you can make it so that it's balanced in the way that if you have gone above and beyond of your character, you've attained the best gear and the best enchants, and you're skilled, and the actual internal timings of all the mobs' abilities and all that shit, and you can big brain it yourself, and you can solo it that way within the constraints of it, then yes. But you need to manipulate monsters to be 10 minutes away from you because they've got to run all the way around and all the way and across. That's not skill, really. It's not. It's not the same as having mastered your class to the nth degree and just like breaking the game within the game. Not, okay, well, the game's broken to begin with. I can just hop up on this ledge. That's not. I think that should be changed.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Pornflake said the other night, we had a mini podcast, just me and him, just having a chat on Discord, and we were talking about this, and even he said, as a priest, it's broken if he could solo a pack of mobs in slave pens naked with a wand. That's it, because you only need a range attack. You can just literally run through, jump on the ledge, pull a pack. I appreciate there's trash in the way. Don't get me wrong, but it's just it needs changing. It's not right. But then, have we got any faith in Blizzard to actually change it? I mean, I for one have not, because they're a small indie company with about 3 people working on this monstrous project. and they just haven't got the resource to change anything that takes any time, or they don't look like they've got the budget to be able to outsource to people who know what they're doing. Obviously, people are too busy taking $200 million bonuses.
I've seen people say it in this chat right now, in my chat, in your chat the other night, and I can appreciate that. Yes, it is a lot of work to rectify, but then don't make a video game that is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game with millions of subscribers. Don't undertake that project. Don't. My quick and dirty thing is like, all right, just place one of those invisible boxes at the end of one of the ledges and then make it so they teleport or whatever you guys like. There are cheesy ways for them to zero effort it and still get a better result than leaving it in and doing nothing. And the choice to do nothing about it, that's a choice in itself, right? It's not like, we're just gonna stay out of it. It's like that is still making a choice to turn a blind eye. I think if they're going to charge you to play the game, they're going to charge you to boost the character. It should be something worth playing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, so you work in, but like current tense, you present tense rather, you work in the corporate world, so you'll know if there's a project coming up, you will most likely have, let's say, a scope of works at the beginning where you will go, right, these are the deliverables. So for an MMO like TBC, it will be, right, we need a balanced experience across all classes. Content needs to be sort of accessible but challenging, and there needs to be a progressive nature. They must have a set checklist of things in the scope that they need to achieve. So. Yeah. Surely they failed
to find out their minimum viable product, and clearly their minimum viable product is just not. It's not great. They just
it's not what we expect.
Money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the standards that we should expect from a company that. I mean, the numbers that they generate, the revenue. Come on. Got to put your finger out and do a bit more work with it, I guess.
And like I say, if they can't do it, then because they haven't got the resource, then outsource it to somebody who can come in as a contractor and get the job done, which is what any company would do on any product they're working on.
Exactly, 100%. And again, this is what I said last week, or is it week before last week? Like when they weren't sure on how to properly execute things with Classic, they asked the Nostalrius team. They flew them in. They got them in, they consulted, they figured out, and they found right from the actual guys, like, yo, you got a 10,000 player strong community here. What are the key things that we need to get right? And they sat down and they told them. I think Nano as well from Nostalrius, I think it was either the ex-head dev or lead of the team, I'm not sure, but he's got a video coming out. I think it's either out today or like this week, where he's going to be revealing the full story. And like, guys, watch that. And then I guarantee, obviously no insider information, I've never spoken to him. I guarantee he'll make it evidently clear once you watch that, Blizzard aren't taking this seriously. If they were, they'd ask people, because they're a bit ignorant to some of the finer aspects that the community are expecting to be in place.
Yeah, but I mean, think back to BlizzCon though, where they was talking about how wet they all was the first time they walked through the Dark Portal and heard that Fell Reaver. I mean, was you not sold on it there? I was like, well, these guys, they know what they're talking about. If the first thing they think of when they hear the words TBC is that Fell Reaver in Hellfire Peninsula, they didn't get very far.
I mean, I think you're really underestimating really where the highlight of BlizzCon was. And if you ask me, it was the guy that was DJing. The guy that was DJing was the highlight of BlizzCon for me. Did you not see those moves he put out on that booth?
I didn't, because I was drunk.
Yeah, man, he's sick.
Yeah,
but I do.
You were there.
I was there, mate. I was rocking with him. Yeah, it was good.
Dude, it looks like he was getting straight up blowy underneath the table.
Yeah,
I'm just going to share the link to this.
It's in chat already. Haven Birch has got it.
All right, cool. Yeah, so Nano released it 5 hours ago. Probably definitely worth a watch. Probably definitely.
Definitely. All right. Well, look, guys, let's wrap up anyway.
Can I say something real quick?
Oh, fake
yeah,
you too.
yeah.
Yeah. Just interrupt as much as you want.
Like, yeah, you mentioned that the monsters can reach you. They spend 30 seconds, and so, like, I mentioned that as well. In raids right now in Naxxramas, I actually tested this, and if they can't reach you, and something like that, or within like a few seconds, it seems like the boss is going to teleport you to the boss. So I don't know if they could implement something like that, where there's a program that can calculate how many seconds does the monster need in order to reach you. So if it's more than like 5 seconds or 6 seconds, you will simply get teleported, or 10 seconds to the actual monster. That would be an easier fix, most likely, instead of trying to, block every single location you can jump on. Because, yeah, you could just make invisible walls, of course, to important locations. But if there's something where they could make you teleport directly to the monster, if they can't reach you for some time, that would be amazing. And that would fix, like, every single dungeon then. There just has to be some calculations where, the program can actually calculate how many seconds.
There are multiple low effort fixes that they can implement, and they don't want to do them. Or maybe, for all we know, they are aware and they are working on it. I don't know. This is the problem with the communication just being almost non-existent between them and the testers and the player base. It's like gotta have some more talkies, people.
I was going to wrap it up and call it a day, but I've just thought of something that someone actually... I don't really get many messages on Twitter, but it was actually a message on Twitter. It was probably a troll, so I'm probably going to make myself sound like an idiot, but what's new? Oosh! No, so in all seriousness, people are saying about changes, no changes, and we spoke about that in the past, and this we definitely will round off with this, because this is a bit of a wild one, don't get me wrong. But in terms of changes to make the content better, now we could even talk about classic era servers if you want. I know that we only really are bothered about TBC, but you could apply this to either classic era or TBC. How would you feel about if there was maybe it's an extra mode, so you've got normal, you've got heroic, and then let's say you've got heroic plus or something, another difficulty, where they literally import the mythic like bolster and skittering and all, those what's the word they use in retail, the affixes, if they actually added that into TBC just for an extra layer of challenge in 5-man, and I know that's really out there and it's like nothing to do with what we was talking about, but when someone mentioned it, I was like, do you know what, that would actually that'd be really cool. Spice up old content, wouldn't it? You got old content, same old dungeons, but now you've got the affixes that can now rotate weekly. So I know it's like you're sort of turning it into mythic dungeons, but it's that sort of work that I expect being done on the game, if I'm honest with you. If they're open to some changes, then make changes that we actually like, changes that are relevant and make the game feel new again, rather than going, we're open to changes, we've gave paladins both seals. All right, cool. I've not played a server where they've done that before, not for the last 13 years. Right, good job, Liz. Good job. How long did that take you? You must have done that during your lunch break.
Yeah.
I think a quick copy over of someone that played a server that they shouldn't have played.
Yeah, they probably downloaded Endless and then took Endless's code.
Yeah.
We'll
let you operate. Just send that over.
I think like changes like that would spice up the game, shake things up, and bring some freshness to it. I would absolutely welcome, but it's horrible to say it, but like, remember back when the changes, no changes movement was starting to become a thing in Classic whilst it was still in beta, and people said no changes because they can't trust Blizz to not mess it up or to implement paid boosts. Well, we're there now because we said changes. Well, people are open to changes now. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if they'd be able to do it successfully, especially seeing as it seems like most of the time when they bring out a new expansion for the last 5 years, they've implemented new systems that have been busted. They've left them, They've let the community submit their ideas for fixes, ignored them, then added it in at the end of a patch and been like, "Oh, guys, quality of life improvement. We've fixed this." It's like, yeah, but you put it in to break it to begin with.
Yeah, you're an expansion too late.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know.
The reason when I brought that up
don't
is
touch the game. It's nice.
So the guy who mentioned this and was like, "How cool would this be?" I was actually like, "Yeah, it would be cool." But me personally, TBC, if it was in, yeah, it would be quite fun. If it was done right, I'd probably enjoy it. But it could be something good for Classic era. Something to those sort of, so it is turning more into a Classic Plus. I don't know, but then you've probably got the hardcore Classic players who, they're staying on Classic era servers because they want that authentic 1 to 60 experience and expansion. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because I'm cut from a different cloth to these hardcore TBC private server players, hardcore Classic private server players, where they just want everything exactly the same. I'm more open to changes than probably most, where I'm like, well, actually, no, if it's going to make the game a more enjoyable experience, learn from the past, learn what didn't work back in the day, how you could make it better now, and make it better now. This is a second chance to do it and make it an even better version of TBC than it was before. But to me, it all just looks like it's absolute laziness, and they're not even bothered about it being like it was before. It just doesn't matter. It's just just get it out. Just get it out. We tested it for a week internally. That's all right. Get the beta out. PTR next week, and let's just launch it. That's what it feels like to me. Right. Anybody got any comments? QT, Mincy, Redzy. I'm going to literally hand the whole floor over to you, unless you're happy, and then we can, I don't know, do something else.
Well, regarding making changes like that, I feel like there's so many more things they should focus on spending their time on. One thing, budding. I mean, I guess all of you know about BRD, rogues, lock picking. You can download a program and bam, you make 50 gold an hour. And there's people with 20, 30 rogues going in there every single day. They're making around 25,000 gold every single day. That's
ridiculous. Can you send me a link to the program?
They're making they're making 500,000 gold every single month, and they don't even need to be at the computer. All they put, they start the bot. They have 20 subscriptions, and bam, and stuff like this. This is where they have to focus on as well. Of course, pathing, that's the main issue, and I don't know how they'll fix it because it will take time for them to make invisible walls you can't jump on or monsters can't reach you. But the budding issue is insane. It's absolutely insane. And I remember I add people to my friend list a year ago most likely in BRD. They're still there. And how much gold has a person with 20 accounts made in a year? Most likely 15-20 million gold. So how they're not storing this gold for themselves, they're selling it. So of course, that would be insane if they could actually fix that stuff first. Instead of
just playing devil's advocate, because I always do it, Cutie. I agree with you 100%. But these guys that you added a year ago, I mean, BRD is quite amazed. Do you not think they might have just got lost?
It is big. There's 30 some bosses?
Yeah, there's a lot of bosses in there. They might just be slowly making their way through, and they're just logging out each day and then having a look around again.
They might have been a bot to begin with, and they haven't actually fixed their own fucking bot pathing, so it keeps running off the edge into the lava, and they're like, okay, res run back, do the same thing. They've been doing it for years.
That was very specific, Redzy. You sound like a man who's used it before.
What have you been doing, Redzy?
That sounded a little too specific.
No, me? No, not me. No, not me.
So I keep...
What I wanted to say with this is that, if they can't fix something like this, if they can't get one... It takes maybe 2 GMs to take care of this problem. It takes no time. You go to the player, you look, okay, is this a bot? Well, how can you see if it's a bot? Well, simply you teleport the guy 10, 20 yards away, you see if he wrecks. If it's a real player, he would be like, what's going on here? If it's a bot, it would just go back and continue. And the problem is, people have reported it. Why is it going to be abusable? You go into the dungeon and you can just repeat. You don't even need to go out as far as I remember, because for some reason the monsters keep respawning the backpack, so you can just keep pickpocketing over and over. and that's why you have these people in the dungeon. They're not going to zone out, so people can report them. Of course, you could whisper them, report them, but it takes way too much work. So like, if they can't fix stuff like this, and they can't fix mirror boosting, all this kind of stuff, it's really easy to fix. Then they will never add new things to the game, like into Classic or Burning Crusade. Like that will, it will take 20 years for them to do that stuff.
So the thing is, I really like the point you just made there. Like, I really like the point you made. It's exactly what I said. I can't remember whether I said it on a Beta Diaries video or if it was the last episode of the podcast, where I basically at some point have said on YouTube that the way all of this is resolved is by having in-game GMs again. That's it. Mm-hmm. In-game GMs who can teleport to someone and go, yes, it's a bot. Now, what is wrong with Blizzard? There should be, like, I would do it unpaid. I would be, whenever I'm online, I will be an active, like, I can go around and do my own shit. You know, I'll be just playing. I might just be on with you boys. But then a ticket will pop up that's assigned to me. All of a sudden, when I now teleport to someone, it shows me as someone completely different. It's not going to show me as Scottejaye. You know, it's going to show me as GM Bob Smith or something, you know, with the GM robe on and stuff. But I'm still on my same character. It just sort of morphs when I press GM mode. I would teleport. You know, a ticket will come up. I'll teleport, say, you know, what's going on. You know, verify whether I think it's a bot or not. And then teleport back to where I was and just carry on. What is wrong with Blizzard taking people who are passionate about the game, who have to go through some sort of vetting process, you know, and everything's logged. So if anyone was like, oh, I was watching Scottejaye stream and he was abusing his botting powers, it wouldn't take long. He's botting powers. I abuse that all the time. Botting his GM I can't speak. Abusing his GM powers. It wouldn't take long before, you know, somebody at Blizzard was like, mate, like, you're banned. You're not just, you know, that should be part of the contract between saying, you know, me saying to Blizzard, like, I'll happily, unpaid, be a GM on Mirage Raceway. Anytime a ticket pops up, I will always prioritise that first outside of raids. You know, when we're in raids, you put DND on or something like that and tickets don't get assigned to you. That's it. And then have sensible people who want the server to be a better place deal with the tickets that they haven't got time to deal with. I mean, that, to me, solves everything. And I know you're always going to get an idiot. You're always going to get an idiot that slips through the net and ends up being a GM, and then they abuse it, or they go one step too far because they've drunk loads and loads of gin that night. But their account should be at risk. If you agree with Blizzard that I will do everything by the book, whatever you say, if I foul you, you ban me. That's it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but like I mentioned, like, it doesn't take many people. It doesn't take more than 5 people, and you could clean up all the servers. If you have someone doing this for 8 hours a day, you can clean up a server in not that long. Like, you know the locations where the bots is at. You know they're in the same dungeons, and you know they're at locations in the open world where there's no quest. Mainly, the bots don't do quests. They just go to locations where there's no quest because they know they're not going to meet many people who is going to report them. It's not going to be that difficult. Like, if you just had one guy who did this, you could clean up a whole server in one day. Like, it doesn't take much. You just have to go to the dungeons, teleport them a few yards. You check, are there a player? You try to whisper them, no reply. Okay, fair enough. You have evidence. And of course, if people had to do this for free, it shouldn't be like you get a GM power and you can ban people. No, maybe you got the power to teleport to people in dungeons, and then you could record the stuff and send it to like a personal GM, mail or something to Blizzard, where, you know, there's a person who takes care of this really fast.
You're
like
basically
you mentioned,
the middleman.
Like, there's going to be people else that's going to abuse it. Like, they're going to teleport their friends to a place or. So yeah, and that's why it shouldn't be many people. And like I mentioned, you don't need many people to fix this problem.
No, and all you're doing is basically filtering out the unwanted reports and unwanted. You're filtering out the shit for Blizzard so they can focus on the real stuff. You know, as in, yeah, you get a bot report come through, you quickly just teleport. Let's face it, if I was running around questing or doing my dailies or doing whatever, got a ticket come through, I teleport straight to him, he can't see me, I can then make myself visible, talk to him for a few seconds, go, no, he's not a bot, he's just really bad, his name's Redzy, then teleport back to where I was anyway, and just carry on. You know, I'd have no problem doing that for free. As in, absolutely no problem. Because I'm sick to fucking death of every time we talk about a gold farm, the instant response is, well, the bots will be doing it. All right, well, give me GM power and I'll get rid of them all. Simple as that.
I'll tell you. I just want to spin this out there, right? Because Mike brought it up and said like OSRS have been doing this for years and it's worked out fine. They give long-standing players, good-standing players, moderator powers, etc., and they can help with the community, right? That kind of aspect of Blizzard Entertainment is no longer in place, okay? Now, it's obvious if you look at Bobby Kotick's bonus coupled with layoffs and then an increased amount of bonuses still now actually rolling in for the man, that's not what they're about. So the idea of having like the community aspect start popping back in, I think we're going to start hitting a wall with like the amount of reciprocation we're going to get and open willingness we're going to get from Blizz. So what's actually more likely is that they will never employ a GM ever again. They will maybe one day spend a little bit of money on getting an AI GM written up and developed, and they'll have that run all of World of Warcraft. That's literally, I think, the way it will go, because they don't want to pay people to do jobs anymore. Customer service massively slashed. I have personal friends who worked in European customer service for Blizz who just had the rug pulled out from under their lives. Like that's not what they're about anymore. That it's a shame, but they're only interested in what's going to make them more money. And if the botting is a problem and their solution is to sell gold tokens, they will sell gold tokens, not fix botting. It sucks, but it's legit.
And WoW tokens, will that really fix stuff? Because let's be honest, in retail you have WoW tokens. People are just selling gold cheaper than WoW tokens. Like, it will continue to be
that. QT, you sell gold cheaper than WoW tokens? Can you DM me,
but
bro?
what's going to change is when a company do come along. We could use Intrepid for an example, which is Ashes of Creation, by the way. And when they do, that like put the community first, which they will, because they're old like EQ players and everything. That's what will do them pay dividends, is actually listening to the community and what they want, and not the bottom line. Ashes is still.
I'm just reading too much of the drums, and I'm like, I'm finding it difficult to concentrate now.
Yeah, don't worry.
He loves drums.
Yeah, Fake QT really does love drums. But anyway, we are done with. That last point for me was probably the most poignant when it comes to in-game GMs. We don't claim to be developers, but we are humans who have got brains. Just FYI, which if you put in-game GMs in a game that help run the game, it will make the game better. I mean, that's like not even a discussion.
The problem wasn't the same back in original Classic or TBC. Like, there wasn't that many bots.
No, because that was
because
GMs.
You gotten cut. Yeah, exactly. You reported someone, or like someone reported you for something, and a GM would show up, and you had to talk to them, or they would whisper you, like, this is not happening anymore. Yeah.
I say this as a player who originally, when I first had my first account back in 2004, had a GM whisper me and asked me if I was a bot, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just sitting there on my hunter in Tanaris, killing monsters over and over again. I didn't know where to go get a quest. It's like, hello? Yeah, I'm not a machine. I just don't know what I'm doing. He's like, oh, right. Okay, have a good day.
Like, yeah, I mean, we'd had GMs teleporting and open gates for us and stuff like that as well back in original Blackwing Lair. I can't remember exactly what happened, but we couldn't get through a gate, and a GM teleported in, opened it. Well, no, he actually just teleported us past it, and then we ran back in and it was opened. But they're nice touches, and they're things you remember as well. As in their fit where, like, that was a fond memory of having a GM teleport into the instance or into the raid, and actually, you felt in touch with the people who are running the servers. Whereas now, we're so disconnected, like absolutely disconnected. But anyway, have you got anything else to add before I say that's a wrap?
On ask the question.
Oh, for fuck. Yep.
Yep.